Spring is in the air and the vibrant sights and sounds of the season are calling crowds to the southern parts of the country for now. In this edition of Issues and Insiders, we delve into the flower festivals in full bloom here in Korea. Hello and welcome to yet another edition of Issues and Insiders for this Friday. I'm Min Sunhee. Today we touch upon the start of spring here in Korea and the festivals ushering the seasonal transition, that is. For this I have Professor Shin Hak-seung at Hanyang University live on the line. Professor Shin, it's a pleasure.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. Thanks for having me here again.
I also have Kwon Soa with us. Soa, welcome back.
Hello, Sonny, and happy Friday.
Right, happy Friday, Soa. Perhaps we can begin now with a rundown of the flower festivals currently taking place here in Korea, Soa.
Sure, but first, Sonny, I have a question for you. What kind of types of flowers pop up in your mind when you think of flower festivals here in Korea?
Honestly, the only thing that comes into mind are cherry blossoms.
I know, right? But have you actually seen cherry blossoms yet?
Not yet, actually.
Me neither, but I think it's coming. And in a few days, maybe we'll be seeing them in full bloom. Although it is slightly rainy, the weather really is important when it comes to the blooming of the flower festivals. But let's take a look at all of the major flower festivals here on this map. So first out, standing out are really the number of cherry blossom festivals, like in the southeastern city of Gyeongju, which has kicked off today, this Friday. And in Seoul, the Yeouido Spring Flower Festival, with its theme this year being Picnic Under the Cherry Blossom, has just kicked off. And the Cherry Blossom Festival at Seokchon Lake is also underway. So is the Cherry Blossom Festival on the southernmost island of Jeju. And although you cannot see it in the name of the festival, the Jinhae Naval Port Festival in Changwon City is also full of cherry blossoms. But it's not only about cherry blossoms here in Korea. Maehwa flowers, or plum blossoms, are known to be the first to bloom in spring, which is why the Gwangyang International Maehwa Festival was held much earlier this month than all of the cherry blossom festivals. And in the district of Mount Jiri in Gure, Sansuyu flowers covered the mountains during the Sansuyu Flower Festival. Now, these events are organized according to blooming periods, but the schedules this year fluctuated a lot. Most of the ones I just mentioned were rescheduled as flowers didn't bloom as early as was expected. Now, last year we had naked trees welcoming visitors to cherry blossom festivals as the flowers already dropped down due to high temperatures that made them bloom very early. So taking that into consideration, this year festivals were scheduled at earlier dates, but this time a cold snap as well as fine dust are being attributed to the later than expected arrival of flowers. But in general, the blooming period does seem to be happening earlier than in the past. And Sunny, I remember around 10 years ago as a weathercaster at Arirang TV, I was actually out at the Yeouido Festival and the flowers were all in bloom, but the date was April 19th. So you can really see the difference compared to how the festivals are being held this year and in the past years.
Right, for sure, for sure. And Professor Shin, what would you say is the impact of such festivals on perhaps regional tourism development?
Mm-hmm. Yes, in tourism development, we generally consider the two types of development, such as physical development and software development. And regional festivals can be classified as part of software development based on local culture and content. Regional festivals not only have a significant impact on short-term regional tourism development, but also have a long-term effect as well. For example, if more and more tourists continue to visit a region for joining festivals, various tourism facilities, including basic infrastructure and food and beverage facilities, can naturally be developed to meet the needs of tourists. Since these facilities can be used not only by tourists, but also by local residents, the quality of life of a local resident can also be improved. In this way, regional festivals can have a comprehensive impact on regional tourism development and contribute to the overall development of the region.
Right, I see. And staying with the same subject, so do tell us a bit more about the economic impact of these flower festivals.
Well, let's take the Gunangje Festival in Changwon as an example that we saw earlier as well. Last year, the festival boasted more than 4.5 million visitors, which was an all-time high. This year's figures, I believe, are not out yet. However, last year's figures was 400,000 more compared to before the COVID-19 pandemic, so in 2019. So what does that mean in terms of money? 260 billion won, or roughly 193 million US dollars of economic effect. And that's based on consumption per person. Local residents spent an average of 37,500 won, which would be roughly 28 US dollars. And visitors from other places spent 63,800 won, or roughly $47. 540,000, or 12% of the total visitors were foreigners, and that was a rise by 200,000. And especially lots of visitors from Taiwan came. In fact, 220,000 were visitors from Taiwan. Now, moving now to this Seokchun Lake Cherry Blossom Festival here in Seoul, which has set a goal of attracting 2.5 million visitors this year. Last year, we had 2.3 million, with an economic benefit last year amounting to around 20 billion won, or around $14.8 million. So maybe that figure is going to rise this year if we have that additional number of visitors. Now, the source of economic benefits does not only come from the flowers, but the efforts put into maximizing the joy. For instance, lightings for wonderful night strolls along the flower trees, and performances from classic to K-pop, flea markets, and of course the food. Although in the case of the Seokchun Festival, food trucks or vendors won't be operating this year, so that during the festival period, nearby restaurants can thrive together. And I also want to mention neighboring Japan. Cherry blossoms this year there are said to have an economic impact 1.8 times larger than last year, and that's also attributed to the after pandemic era. Now, according to a Japanese economist, 1.1 trillion yen, or over 7.5 billion US dollars of benefits are expected to be reaped, with some 61.4 million Japanese citizens and 3.7 million inbound tourists expected. And according to the Japan Tourist Bureau, with Easter holidays in Europe and America overlapping with the cherry blossom season, foreigners who visit during this time will strongly associate Japan with cherry blossoms.
Right, I see. And in the meantime, back here in Korea, Professor Shin, borrowing words that Soa used, maximizing the pleasure of these festivals, what are some tasks that can be tackled by regional authorities to ensure a fun and rewarding festival?
Yes, the issue of overpricing at regional festivals is the most serious problem. And since regional festivals are in general short-term events, local merchants, including temporary vendors, can easily impose high prices on festival visitors. In addition, because a large number of tourists visit during the festival period, congestion increases in the regional area, leading to cases where local residents need to suffer. And finally, due to comparative hosting of regional festivals, there is a growing tendency to uncritically adapt successful cases from other festivals, which can lead to a lack of diversification and standardization of festival content. So these problems weaken the long-term comparativeness of regional festivals, requiring proactive responses by regional authorities.
Right, of course. And speaking about proactive response from regional authorities, so I understand that authorities are working to crack down on overpricing, which was mentioned by Professor Shin.
So we also talked about this back when we dealt with summer festivals, if you remember, Sunny. And I'm really happy to see this happening with the spring festivals as well. So probably this trend will continue from here on for the rest of the year and years to come before overpricing at these festivities is tackled altogether. If we take the Jinhae Naval Port Festival as an example, Changwon City and a committee with those involved in the festival got together to discuss the complete eradication of bloated prices that were especially an issue last year. What they came up with were rules like having to register your real names for booths that you operate. An unfair price reporting center was set up, and people who reported on such prices were said to have been rewarded, and the culprits would have to quit their business at the festival. I don't know if that really happened this time. However, those were the rules that were set. Now, what's more, those caught for overpricing would never be allowed to sell at the Gunangje Festival and would be disclosed on the festival's website. The crackdown on overpricing at the Hanyang Mehwa Festival, meanwhile, also seemed to have worked. If we mention some of the popular food items this year, for instance, 추억의 도시락, which I would translate into nostalgic Korean lunchbox, which is filled with rice, kimchi, fried egg, ham, and other side dishes, just for 5,000 won, or $3.7, and that is pretty reasonable. And beverages like 매실 하이볼 or plum highball, also for 5,000 won, and that was even said to be cheaper than at nearby pubs or restaurants.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. Professor Shin, there have also been quite a bit of concerns about declining rural populations being perhaps unable to cater to the rising demand of urban visitors. What are your thoughts?
Yes, increasing the number of tourists can be an important solution to address the issue of local extinction. However, as the role of local resident is crucial in providing proper services and cultural experiences for tourists, a decrease in the local population can lead to a long-term decline in the quality of tourism services. In this regard, it is important for the region to manage the number of tourists based on the management of carrying capacity and gradually develop tourism infrastructure. Regional authorities may consider the use of non-face-to-face digital technology to provide tourism services during festivals. But I think services provided by local staff and residents can make regional festivals more unique and interesting. As I mentioned, I think it is necessary to achieve regional development through tourism industry, which can potentially lead to the population influx to the region. After that, high-quality tourism services can be provided by local community.
And on a more personal note, Professor Shin, which flower festival, if I may, or any other festival, do you wish to visit this spring?
Yes, as you mentioned, there are various flower festivals in spring season, but I would like to visit the Canola or the Camellia festival, flower festivals in Jeju Island. As you know, there is a Hala mountain and diverse small mountains called Autumn in Jeju Island, so many flowers bloom there. So I'd like to participate in flower festivals or enjoy various wildflowers while walking along the Ole Trail.
And I wonder, Professor Shin, is there more that the government can do perhaps to promote greater awareness of flowers uniquely available here or they are visible here in Korea to our foreign visitors? I mean, Soa spoke about how there were so many foreigners visiting Japan's, I believe, cherry blossom festivals.
Yeah, that is one issue because Japan, they established a strong brand about cherry blossom festival. But we also have some good cherry blossom festivals in South Korea. But for foreigner perspective, we don't really have a strong brand in flower. So we need to build a strong flower brand, which can represent the identity of South Korea and make a strong content based on that flower theme in designing regional festivals.
Right, for sure. Meanwhile, so efforts are also underway, I hear, to ensure a proper cleanup campaign after these spring festivals. What more can you tell us?
Right. Another positive trend is that these festival organizers, as well as the public, is more aware of pollution and garbage that results from these large-sized festivals. I mean, we not only have that with spring festivals, but also when we have those firework festivals, all of these big festivals. And one great example I found is in the city of Cheongju, a food truck festival has kicked off this Friday, and they are making good use of social media to make sure the festival stays clean. So this event is called 쓰담쓰담 event, and which is an abbreviation for 쓰레기를 담다, so which means to pick up trash. And 쓰담쓰담 also means like patting someone. So it means you would have a self-pat for picking up trash on the floor. So if someone picks up trash and posts a photo of him or herself doing that with the right hashtags, they can earn a coffee coupon at the festival. And also, festivals are making efforts in actually reducing trash from the get-go. Jeollanam-do province is actively getting rid of disposable items like plates and cups at their festivals. And one representative festival per city or county is designated as Disposable Product Free Festival starting this year. The Maehwa and Sansuyu festivals were part of it. And as of last week, officials said more than 17 tons of waste was reduced at this year's flower festivals in the region thanks to that. Now, this is equivalent to the amount of greenhouse gases absorbed by 9,000 30-year-old pine trees in a year, to put that into perspective. And I have to say, in the recent years, already we saw all of the citizens taking care of the trash after they had fun at the festivals, which is a good thing. But the issue is that too much garbage is coming out of these festivals. So I think it would be great if more and more other places would adopt such measures.
Right. The 쓰담쓰담 campaigns. You get a pat on the back for picking up after yourself.
Yes, that, and also the what Jeollanam-do province is doing with not using any disposable products.
Right, of course, for sure. Professor Shin, generally speaking, what do you propose to perhaps further promote the productive hosting and proper enjoyment of regional festivals?
Yes, most of all, we need to create sustainable festivals that leverage the cultural assets of the region. As I mentioned earlier, it is important to design regional festivals from a long-term perspective based on the unique cultural content, rather than focusing on content that attract attention temporarily. In addition, it is important to establish the region's brand and identity based on each local culture, which is the most important asset of regional festivals. Lastly, considering the increasingly important issues such as environmental and social responsibility, as Soa mentioned, the so-called ESG management of regional festivals needs to be considered. Local authorities need to perform environmentally friendly festival management, reinvest profits into the local community, and adapt the perspective of various stakeholders, including local resident and merchant, in tourism development processes.
Right. And Professor Shin, perhaps expanding on what you just mentioned, Seoul is popular for tourists, especially foreign tourists who are interested in K-pop. We have the southern port city of Busan popular with those who are interested in seeing glimpses of South Korea's seas, perhaps. Are there any other regions in Korea or cities that can work to perhaps promote their distinctive features to our foreign travelers?
Yeah, there are so many nice places for foreign visitors to take a look around the region and enjoy flowers. Especially, I propose Gangwon province. And in Gangwon province, there are so many mountains and natural field where foreign visitors can enjoy natural wild flowers. So those areas are not commercially developed yet. But nowadays, we can see an influx of free individual tourists, especially from foreign markets. So they can, if they have proper information about those areas, then they can enjoy the natural wild flowers and relevant flower content.
Of course. Yeah. Information would be very important.
Yes,
and again,
exactly, yeah.
I have a bit more time, and so I was wondering if there was a flower festival that you could visit this particular season, which one would you go to?
Well, I love flowers, but I'm not a big fan of those packed festivals. But, you know, I'm actually going to Gyeongju tomorrow, not to go for a flower festival, but I know that Gyeongju is also really beautiful with cherry blossoms. So I actually look forward to those, all of these flowers blooming in our neighborhoods, anywhere we go. Because that is sometimes even more surprisingly beautiful than when you actually go to a festival where you are expecting those flowers to be there.
I have to agree with you, Soa. Quite a number of apartment complexes, especially here in Seoul, they have yet to bloom. However, quite a number of the complexes here also are lined with cherry blossoms. So for those of you who have no time to visit the festivals, you can actually indulge in those scenes right from the parking lots from the complex, that is. All right, Professor Shin, thank you so much for your time and your thoughts today. And so, as always, thank you very much for your insights.
Thank you, Sunny.
Thank you.
That ends this week's editions of Issues and Insiders. Thank you for watching. Have a great weekend. See you same time next Monday.